Welcome. I'm Robert Burke, the author of the poster entitled The Venus Apocalypse as Origin for the Eclipse. And I have a simple question. Did the sky fall? This might shock you, but you know the answer to this question because it surrounds every part of your life in very intimate ways. And like cultures around the world, you likely celebrate our survival of this apocalyptic event annually at the winter solstice. I have a simple fulcrum for my thesis, and on that fulcrum I shall place a lever, a proof that is, and it is my hope that it shall be long enough to move your world. Did the sky fall? To quote George Bernard Shaw, no question is so difficult to answer as that to which the answer is obvious. My thesis fulcrum is simple. 1. The universe is electric, and an apocalyptic event of an electrical nature left evidence in planetary orbits and surface features. 2. The event was captured in cultural mythology and legend globally. 3. The principal celestial bodies involved were Venus, the Earth, and the Moon. My work is not the first to provide evidence for a high-current plasma event in antiquity. In 2003, plasma physicist Dr. Anthony Peratt published his findings that plasma stabilities and instabilities had been etched thousands of times into rocks around the world. His work was the first to establish that an electrical event of an exceptional nature not only occurred, but was also captured by survivors in rock petroglyphs, globally. My thesis provides an origin for the plasma stabilities and instabilities identified by Peratt, by providing a proof that the three celestial bodies were in close contact at one point in history. To do that, I will use a simple algebraic proof. If A equals B, and if B equals C, then A equals C. Should my logic be sound and data be valid, I will have established that Venus, the Earth, and the Moon were directly connected in a close contact apocalyptic event in antiquity, and in fact one that occurred in human memory. Did the sky fall? If A equals B. During the 1964 conjunction of Venus and the Earth, new observations were made of Venus using a radio telescope. The seminal paper on the observations by R.L. Carpenter finished with the following conclusions about the new findings and their agreement with previous observations. Quote, "The agreement is significantly improved and suggests that the rotation of Venus is closer to 244 days than 250 days. This result is rather astonishing, because if the period is 244 days, then Venus will present very nearly the same side to the Earth every conjunction. The actual rotation is 243 days, and at each conjunction with the Earth, the same surface face of Venus points at the Earth. A equals B. Venus is 95% the size of the Earth, and the primary surface feature of the planet is a scar in the southern hemisphere called the Artemis chasm. The chasm is 2,100 kilometers across, circular, and over a mile deep. Within the encircling rim is a secondary red patch and an orange dot, which are cognate with the Tarim Basin on Earth, but in mirror, as we will see in a moment. Among the 4 likely causes for the chasm, lead researchers have listed the following as hypothesis number 3. Quote, "Artemis reflects the surface expressions of an ancient, huge, bolide impact on cold, strong lithosphere." Venus wasn't hit by something, and the Artemis chasm isn't an impact crater. Rather, Venus itself was pulled towards and hit something, leaving an extraction rim from the negative charge. Material from the Artemis chasm was pulled up and exited the anode planet Venus, only be implanted on the cathode surface of Earth, forming the Himalayan mountain chain in successive waves of incoming positive charge. This positive charge is identifiable in the Lichtenberg figures within the Himalayan mountain chain itself. See the patterns Gareth Samuels explains the anode discharge effect that creates the implanting which formed the mountains.
For the anode, it is the incoming electrons that collide with the surface which causes a heating effect and also causes ionization. Again here, it leaves a crater behind. But in the case of the anode, the vaporized material, which is ionized, does not fall back but will journey towards the cathode, eventually being implanted on its surface.
The material from the Artemis chasm became implanted on the Earth, forming the Himalayan mountains, as the charge moved from positive to negative. A equals B. To support A equals B, we will also confirm if B equals A. The following animation was created by computer programmer Ujjwal Suryakant Rane. Rane illustrates that the Earth, seen as the blue dot in the middle, and Venus, seen as the pink dot rotating around the Sun, share a near-perfect 13:8 orbital ratio. To create a perfect 13:8 orbital ratio, Rane slowed the Earth's orbit by 3 hours out of a year, or 0.034%. That correction marks the accuracy of the synchronous orbit and suggests that A equals B with 99.96% accuracy. While Rane begins his animation with Venus opposite the Sun, this exact same 13:8 orbital symmetry can be created by starting Venus here, at the inside junction and close approach of the two planets. A equals B, and B equals A. The Earth is known as the twin of Venus, a reference that goes back millennia in Greek mythology. My pre-submission paper linked below is based on the Journal of Meteoric and Planetary Science, who published a guide to what a crater should look like in 2013. Quote, "Most impacts occur at an angle with respect to the horizontal plane. This is primarily reflected in the ejected distribution, but at very low angle, structural asymmetries such as elongation of the crater and non-radial development of the central peak become apparent. It is my thesis that a close contact event occurred here between the two planets, leaving twin 2,100 kilometer wide rims called the Artemis Chasm in the southern hemisphere of Venus and the Himalayan mountain chain in the northern hemisphere of the Earth. Venus was the anode and the Earth was the cathode, which I will establish further in a moment. This close contact ultimately began the 13:8 orbital and rotational symmetry we see today. From this conjunction in the model, Venus moves backwards in a retrograde orbit behind the Earth, right after, I might add. It shows us the exact same surface face. To close this segment, we need to confirm the direction of current between the two bodies. There is a 26-degree clockwise rotation in the crust of the Tarim Basin that is cognate in position with the orange dot identified on Venus. Based on Maxwell's corkscrew rule, the crustal rotation strongly supports the thesis that a current was flowing into the Earth, specifically here in the Tarim Basin, with the induced magnetic field causing the telltale clockwise rotation. Current flowed into the Earth here, and this then allows us to define a circuit within the crust beginning here. When we get enough resolution on the orange dot of Venus, we will find the crust there rotated counterclockwise, following Maxwell's right-hand thumb rule. B equals A with 99.96% accuracy, and A equals B is supported and corroborated by these models. If B equals C, the Moon has a perfect 28-day cycle with the Earth, and has had one, according to ancient calendars, for at least the last few thousand years. There is an entire side of the Moon that has never been seen in daylight from the Earth. As I'm sure you know, it gets sunlight, just never when it's facing the Earth. The side of the Moon that is synchronized with the eclipse, that is, the side that is facing the Sun during the eclipse, is the side that we never see. It is the dark side of the Moon that we only see. This is the 0 point in the predictable cycles of the solar eclipse. B equals C. The Earth has just one satellite, and the synchronization isn't perfect because the Moon is drifting away from the Earth at 3.8 centimeters per year. This 3.8 centimeters is equivalent to the orbital symmetry deviation of 0.034% corrected by Rane. The Moon's primary feature is the Shackleton crater in the southern hemisphere, said to be the largest such crater in the solar system. This is not a crater. Nothing like a meteor hit here. The Moon formed in a coronal charging event. The god standing here is the Egyptian god Khonsu, and the arc at the end of his staff isn't an effigy to the crescent moon. Like the flags of many countries, it encodes the coronal charging that formed the Moon. B equals C. If A equals B, as I have shown with 99.96% accuracy, and if B equals C, as we all know with near 100% accuracy, then A must equal C, and Venus, the Earth, and the Moon must have been in close contact at a single moment in antiquity. The universe is electric, and an apocalyptic event of an electrical nature left evidence in planetary orbits and surface features. The event was captured in cultural mythology and legend globally, and the principal celestial bodies involved were Venus, the Earth, and the Moon. If A equals B, and if B equals C, then A equals C. And Archimedes may have been describing much more than a useful tool to lift things. He may have been describing an event in great antiquity and the articulation of our survival. The Venus apocalypse is an event every human on planet Earth knows incredibly well, and the proof that it happened rests everywhere around us, and were we but to pick up the string and follow it, we might just find our way out of this maze. Archimedes' famous quote should come with the clarification that the world moved was Venus. Thank you for letting me move your world today. Peace out.